Welcome in, everybody. Hello, Songbird. Welcome to the Soul Group meeting. It's good to see you all again. Welcome in, everybody. Hello, Anna. Glitchy already. Wow. Hopefully that's not going to continue on me. Driving for 2 hours. Oh, goodness. Well, I hope that the driving conditions are good, at least. I know that there's a lot of weather in a lot of places. The weather's getting ready to turn pretty bad where I'm at right now. So I hope that you're being safe. Toolman, welcome in, my friend. It feels like it's been a while since I've seen you. I hope you're doing well. In Massachusetts. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that the weather is a little chilly there. I know where I'm at. Not that I'm here to talk about the weather, but while we wait for a few more people to get in here, in I think 24 hours or so, it's supposed to get, with the wind chill, about 17 to 20 below zero where I'm at. Not looking forward to that at all. Hello, Mom. Thank you for the rose. Hello, Arlena. Cold, rainy snow. Awesome. Yeah, that's icky. Well, I hope you're able to make the most of it, my friend. Hello, Judy. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the Soul Group meeting. Going to New Hampshire. Oh, good weather. Okay, good deal. So, it's going to be negative in a lot of places. Yeah, I know, that's what I've heard. Massive Arctic air mass moving down yet again. Oh, thank you, Judy. Thank you so much for that, my friend. I appreciate your support. Oh, wow. Thank you. Very kind of you, my friend. For those of you who was on the Soul Group meeting yesterday, I'm glad you'll be here listening, Songbird. Really missing Louisiana. Yeah, I don't doubt that. I live fairly south, right? Not like extreme south or anything like that, but it is cold here, so I really am glad that I don't live in a northern state right now. Hello, Stephanie. For those of you who were in the meeting that we had last night, towards the end of that, a question was asked about what the Tetragrammaton was. Oh, thank you, Arlena. And what the pentagram was. And I realized, even though those topics are of keen interest to me and something that, I'm really passionate about, and I've read a lot about them, and I have a decent amount of knowledge about both of those subjects, it's something I've never really talked about in here. And one thing that I want to start doing is start covering a wider array of topics with you guys. Aw, thank you, Judy. I appreciate that. Thank you, my friend. So, along those lines, and the topics that we were discussing last night, because I realized not everybody has the same background, not everyone has the same knowledge, not everyone has come across the same information, right? Although our paths might be similar, they are separate and they're different. We come across different things along our path. So I understand that not everybody has come across information about the Tetragrammaton. Not everyone has come across information about the pentagram. And most people in the United States, especially from Christian backgrounds that have heard anything about that, it is a pagan symbol, one that is linked to Satanism and evil and all manner of negativity. And so I tried to dispel some of that on the live last night because, in my humble opinion, nothing could be further from the truth whenever it comes to either one of those. First of all, the Tetragrammaton is the holy, the ultimate holy, unspeakable name of God that was given to the Israelites. So, certainly not something that is satanic or evil, right? Exactly, Toolman. We are all pieces of the puzzle, and that is one of the things that I wind up saying pretty much in every single live. And the amusing thing about that to me, I guess almost the ironic part about that, is that we are pieces of the puzzle. And if you think about putting a puzzle together, it kind of isn't the same thing if you're missing it 2 or 3 pieces. Have any of you guys ever sat down for hours or a few days and put together a big glorious 5,000 piece puzzle to come to the end of it and discover that you're missing a piece or two? It's very disappointing, right? You can still kind of see the big picture and everything, but you have this sense that something is missing. And to me, that perfectly illustrates what Socrates was talking about when he said that each of us has a specific function to fulfill that nobody else is capable of fulfilling. That is because we are part of the divine. Our soul, our higher self, is a part of divinity, a part of the divine, a unique vibration, a unique frequency of the divine, fractals of the whole, containing the essence of the whole, but unique. So, if you do not bring forth what is in you and bring that out into the world will be poorer for it. The world will never have the benefit of your specific function. And to me, the piece that's missing is Jesus. I think that there's a lot of pieces that are missing. I think the piece that is missing, my friend, is the true teaching of Jesus, the freedom that Jesus brought to the world, the truth that Jesus brought to the world that was twisted and distorted and used to control the population through fear. Thank you, Gina, for sharing the live. I appreciate that. I am who I am. I like that. So, this is blasphemy. I'm going to take a real brief moment here to say, for anybody who's not heard me speak that is in this live right now, you might not know this, but I believe that I do not have a monopoly on the truth. I believe that I do not know everything, and that I am perfectly all right with my ideas and beliefs being challenged. So if anybody disagrees with what I'm saying and thinks that it is wrong or incorrect or blasphemous, feel free to challenge that. But just know that that is a two-way street that goes both ways. The only thing that I ask is that it is done respectfully, because I think that it is possible for people to disagree, but yet still get along without being spiteful or vengeful or downright nasty. The world is it's full of that. We don't need any more negativity. This, my friend, is not a ski hat. Does that conform to community guidelines? I believe that it does. Boy, we've got all sorts in here tonight. I love it. The world is done. Unpretty 2026. This is 963 hertz frequency. I'm here because we care about each other, not judging. I'm glad you mentioned that, Judy, because that was another one of the things that we started talking about last night that I think is absolutely paramount. The difference between judgment and discrimination. Yes. I think that, first of all, discrimination is a word that has been used, it's been drugged through the mud. It's got a lot of negative connotations. Um, oh, thank you, Tess. I appreciate that. But to be able to discriminate is necessary for existence in order for us to live, right? You need to be able to discern and discriminate between something that is safe for you and something that could possibly result in your demise, right? So discrimination doesn't necessarily mean, you know, the way that the term is commonly used in our society. As an example, if you have somebody in your life, maybe in your workplace, that is always inherently negative. Everything that comes out of their mouth is just incredibly negative and, you know, casting judgment upon everybody else and, you know, just a woe is me mentality, and it just drains your energy and everything. On one hand, you can judge that person by saying they're just a terrible person. You know, I can't stand that person. They're a bad person. I hate being around them, whatever. But there's a difference between judging somebody and discriminating and saying, this energy is not good for me. I should distance myself from this energy because when I'm around it, it lowers my energy. I don't like the way it makes me feel. It creates an unhealthy situation for me. One of those places value on somebody else. You estimate that person's value as an individual, and then weigh it against your own or other people. That's judgment. The other one says, this is not a healthy situation for me. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? That is absolutely necessary for us to be able to do that. Hello from Maine. People use discrimination as a shield. How so? I'm really interested in that. If a guy called, I would say that that's very disrespectful and hurtful and judgmental, yes. Well, hello, Sadie. Thank you for that, by the way. I really appreciate anyone that is new here introducing themselves and letting us know that they're new, because a lot of people come through the Soul Group Live, and we're always looking to add new members to our Soul Group and expand and meet new people. So thank you, my friend. It's nice to meet you. Thank you, Angela, for sharing the live. So, again, big difference between judging somebody and discerning, right? Or discriminating. Well, thank you, Unpretty. I'm not sure about the name, though. I'm sure that there is not truth in that, my friend. Thank you, Mom, for welcoming them. I do appreciate that. So, thank you, Connie. I appreciate that. Hello, Shyler. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about before we go too far into talking about discrimination and why that's not actually a bad thing. It even sounds bad. Me saying something like discrimination isn't a bad thing, right? Because of all of the negative connotations associated with that. But in fact, it's not. Everybody discriminates all of the time. A brief example of that is, well, hello, Shannon, an old person. I'm an old new person. Well, welcome in. We have members of all types in here, so everybody is welcome. New from Illinois, welcome, my friend. We're discussing the differences between judgment and discrimination. Because, in my opinion, I think one is inherently bad for us, and the other one is not only good for us, but it's necessary for our survival. An example of discrimination is if you're walking through the kitchen and you are not really paying attention, you go to put your hand down, and right before your hand touches the surface, you notice there's an immense amount of heat, and so you immediately pull your hand back. You are discriminating the difference in air temperature, saying, well, that's hot, hotter than it should be for me to lay my hand on it. That is an act of discrimination. You're discriminating the fact that that is hot, it's dangerous, it's bad for you, so you move your hand, right? A judgment is similar, but it places value on something, such as, that is a bad stove, or whatever, or a bad person. You're judging the value of that person, basically. Discrimination might look like some of the activities, attitudes, and energies that this person is always embodying are inherently bad for me because of what it does to my energy. So I'm going to distance myself from that person. It's okay to do that. And I think that we need to do that in order to protect ourselves and protect our energy. That's part of setting a healthy boundary, by the way, which is absolutely necessary, or we become a doormat for everybody. Hello, Brock. Welcome in, my friend. So anyway, before I get too far into that, I wanted to mention something that I did not quite get to on last night's live. Somebody asked me about this. Actually, somebody accused me of being a Satanist because I was wearing this. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about it for anybody who does not know what this is and might be interested in it. It's good to see you too, Brock. This is actually Metatron's cube, is what that symbol is on there. And it is surrounded by 7 points with a stone in each one that is there for balancing one of the 7 chakras. Each one balances a chakra. For those of you who don't know who Metatron is a part of the Seraphim, the highest choir of angels in the angelic realm according to Judeo-Christianity, right? So for somebody to say that wearing a symbol associated with the highest choir of angels is satanic, to me that just shows a lack of knowledge and understanding in that department. Jesus loves you as well, Mary. Thank you, my friend. And I want to talk a little bit about that symbol, just to talk about the symbology of it and why that is important to me. You're a Satanist, yeah. I had absolutely no idea, but I always am interested in getting new information and new knowledge. And unfortunately, a lot of it is ignorance and people being force-fed fear through religious institutions. And it's not really people's fault, right? Religion can be used to control people primarily through fear, and I think that that's really unfortunate. So that's why I want to talk about this. If you look closely at the symbol here, this is actually a representation of a two-dimensional concept of the Star of David, who most of us, especially in the Western world, know what the Star of David is, right? It is a 6-pointed star for entertainment purposes only. Thank you, Bobby, for that disclaimer. I appreciate you. The 6-pointed star has been for millennia a symbol of Judaism. It has been used for a very long time to represent Judaism. But why, right? The 6-pointed star, the Star of David, was a symbol that was given to the Israelites, according to ancient lore, to represent God, essentially. And there is a whole lot of symbology involved with that. I should have brought out the whiteboard so I could illustrate this for you guys a little bit better. But trying to figure out how I can do this. Hang on a second. I got something. Get out my handy dandy notebook. Okay, so excuse my artistry here, but for the sake of our conversation here, this is the Star of David. And yes, Brock, exactly. It's two triangles, right? But the information that is embedded in that is you have a representation of fire, the element of fire, and a representation of the element of water. That is the pictograph or the element, the alchemical symbols for fire and water. Fire is masculine, right? Water is feminine, because in alchemy, in all things, gender manifests universally. The sun is always seen as being masculine, fire, right? The moon is always seen as being feminine. It's associated with water. Whenever you overlay these two and you put them together, what you get is the Star of David. It is the water combined with the fire in perfect harmony. So it is a symbol saying that God is the ultimate union of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, united in perfect harmony and balance. Absolutely, Gina. And so I'm water. I can drown stuff. No wonder my plants die. So I'm... Oh, that's great, Brock. So whenever we're talking metaphysical concepts, things like this, these are more archetypes than physical reality. Although archetypes are like the blueprint in the etherical realms of like the astral plane where physical reality manifests from. So even though we're talking an archetype of fire and water, those things are linked to physical aspects in our 3D physical world, such as fire and physical water, right? I love that. Exactly, Shiler, the divine marriage. Holds grip. So there's a whole lot of information embedded in this, but the tetragrammaton, as I was saying last night when someone asked, is known as the ultimate, holy, unspeakable name of God. And it itself essentially says the same thing. When translated, it is the perfect balance of the divine feminine and masculine united in harmony. Balance is the key there. Hey, Alpha Wolf, how you doing, my friend? Does it correlate back to health? It absolutely does, and I was getting ready to get back to that point. All of us, each and every one of us, have elements of the divine masculine and the divine feminine within us. I'm glad you're doing good, my friend. But the thing is, very rarely is that energy balanced within us. It is an incredibly rare thing to meet a person with both of those energies perfectly balanced. There's almost always a prevailing energy, one that is repressed or suppressed, one that is dominant, to the point that it might even manifest in blockages. It is incredibly hard. That's part of a natural state, right? I mean, and part of it is linked to our gender as well. Hello, Deborah. So, what are the practical applications of the information of the Star of David, right? Which talks about okay, I was trying to read your comment there, Dave. Thank you for that. Um, well, thank you for that, Venetian babe. And yes, I am. Thank you. Um, there is a lot of practical advice and information embedded in the Star of David, which, again, is representative of the balance between the masculine and the feminine, because all of us have that energy within us. In order to attain the highest level of vibration within us, we have to maintain or achieve a level of balance of our energies within us. If you were to look at the chakra system, for an example, you have 7 major chakra centers in the body. The lower 3 chakras are predominantly masculine in origin. The energy is masculine. And I'm not necessarily talking so much about gender as I am with energy on this, but I'm trying to put it in words that we all typically use and understand. Love and balance comes in 2 different places. I think I would challenge that assumption from my own perspective. And I'll tell you why here in just one moment. If your lower 3 chakras are masculine, and let's say that you're a male, your lower 3 chakras will be your predominant energy, the way that your energy manifests into physical reality. Mostly. Not saying that that is universally true for every single person, but that is usually true, right? Your energy will manifest through one or all 3 of those chakra centers, the lower chakra centers. I don't like using that term because it insinuates that some are better than others, and I don't think that that is the case whatsoever. But then you have the upper 4, which are predominantly seen as being feminine. But I think that really I would take the crown out of that. And so you have the lower 3, the upper 3, and then you have the crown chakra at the top of the head, which really is activated through a balance of the divine feminine and masculine energies. So if you are way skewed one way or another, meaning that your energy is predominantly manifesting in the world through masculine energies, and you are suppressing or repressing feminine aspects of yourself, such as nurturing, such as being open and receptive, you are blocking the flow of your energy through those upper 3 chakras, which, begin with your heart and your throat and your pineal gland. So, feeling, connecting, and intuition, right? So, if you are a man's man, or somebody who buys into the stereotype of masculinity that has been force fed down everyone's throat, and you think that it makes you weak to express emotions or to feel emotions, you might be blocking half of the equation for yourself, right? You might be closing off your connection to a lot of things, but also to your own intuition. And that's a really unfortunate situation, but it also works both ways, right? If you are born into this world a female, then your energy most likely, although not always, predominantly manifests through the upper 3 chakras. And you might struggle with things like personal power, grounding energy, bringing things down to earth, those sorts of things. Not necessarily that you struggle with them, but your energy does not naturally manifest through those centers. But you have a natural, strong connection to the world around you, to other people. You have a stronger connection to the spirit realms, the spirit world, and to your own intuition. Hello, Naked Garden Dancer. Thank you, Brock. I got so behind on my comments I didn't see that, but thank you for mentioning those links. By the way, I do appreciate that. The point to all of this is, if we do not understand and acknowledge the fact that within each of us is the divine feminine and the divine masculine, we're playing with half a deck. We're working with half the equation, right? We have to acknowledge those parts within us because it is part of us, and not repress parts of ourselves if we want to be whole. The only way to become balanced is to acknowledge and accept all parts and all aspects of ourselves. Because whenever you begin to repress those things, or refuse to acknowledge them, or whatever it is, for whatever reason, then you're blocking the flow of your energy in that direction. And the way that our system is set up is that if you have a blockage in any area or any specific chakra, then you are creating a weakness in that chain, which causes a weakness of the system, which means that your energy cannot generate and manifest through the other chakras the way that they normally would be able to. You would not be able to achieve the levels that you would be able to otherwise. And perhaps equally as important to that is, just like the Earth has an electromagnetic field generated by, scientists say, the liquid molten core of iron that's spinning, generating electromagnetic forces that manifest into a dipole magnetic system on the planet. Our body also has a shield, an electromagnetic field that is generated by the chakras. That acts as a shield, a protective shield for us from energy, from other people's vibrations, from negative entities that would wish you harm, as an example. All manner of things, right? That is our protective shield. If you have a blockage, let's just say when you were a child, something happened and you decided that you were not worthy of taking up space in this world because someone made you feel like you did not deserve to be heard. So you grew up thinking that was the truth. So you began to repress yourself through expression. And so you got quiet. You didn't speak up. You allowed people to use you as a doormat and not speak your truth. That most likely would manifest as a blockage in your throat chakra, right? It limits your ability to express self verbally. That can create, because of that blockage, can create a chink in your armor, a possible entry point for low vibrational negative entities to attack you, because you have that hole there in your magnetic field, a chink in your armor. So there is a lot of different reasons why balance is necessary and important for us. That's just one of them. But if you want to be able to manifest, as an example, and you primarily express your energy through the upper chakras, the feminine, you are naturally inclined to being open, to being receptive, to receiving what it is that the world has to offer you. You are naturally creative. You have a natural intuition. So you're able to formulate this vision in your mind very, very, very clearly, right? Of what it is that you would like to manifest into your reality. But let's say maybe the masculine energies of the lower three chakras are not your forte. Maybe at some point somebody told you that it wasn't okay for you to express those masculine tendencies for whatever reason. And so you stopped doing that, right? You repressed that energy. That might limit your ability. Although you can connect to these things, you can receive them, and you can visualize them with the best of us, you might not be able to bring that vision down to earth because of the limited energy of the masculine potential within you, and vice versa. It goes opposite ways. Maybe your masculine energy is strong and you're able to bring things down to earth and ground and go after it and take physical action to do the things that you need to do. But maybe you don't know how to receive. Maybe you don't know how to open up and receive something from the universe, even though you can create this great manifestation, this vision for yourself, and you can take the actionable steps to make it happen. Maybe you don't know how to receive. And that is a necessary part of the equation, right? So the practical applications of the information embedded within something seemingly as simple as the Star of David are endless. And you could continue discussing this and looking at it from 100 different angles for probably weeks and still have a mountain of information that you haven't covered. I'm trying to catch up on my comments and I got way far behind. Are these easy to self-diagnose? I would say simple, not easy. That's just my personal opinion. Thank you for the roses, my friend. It depends on your ability really to be open and honest with yourself and to exercise, what's the term that I'm looking for? Introspection. That's the word I was looking for. It was eluding me. If you are introspective, it is easy to diagnose. But you have to have a working knowledge of the energy centers, the way that energy is represented and expressed through each of those, the emotions associated with those, and common blockages and things like that, which can be found relatively easily in this day and age. But if you have that information and you are open with yourself and honest with yourself, you can, through introspection, analyze yourself, your own energy, your strengths, your weaknesses, your limitations, and usually pinpoint pretty accurately where an issue could be, or at least get a pretty good idea of the balance of things with your own individual energy. Hello, Kim. Welcome in, my friend. I've always known how to use my mouth. I'm Irish. Thank you for sharing that, Sassy Blues. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. The word doormat is triggering, but I can handle it. Well, I certainly did not intend to trigger you, my friend, but I can understand that. Hot cocoa here tonight. It is a hot cocoa night, isn't it? Amy says it seems like our society often gives us messages it's not okay. More than giving us messages, I think that we are indoctrinated from a very early age that it's not okay. And that needs to change in a very bad way. If we are to truly embody the energy and the vibration of the age of Aquarius, then that needs to go away. It has to. Because for me, the primary message of the age of Aquarius is about balance and harmony. It's about a lot of things, right? It's about truth. But at the same time, what is truth? That makes everything that is truth much more important and at the forefront. Anything that is being repressed that is truth, such as the fact that we all have divine masculine and feminine, and they deserve to be expressed equally. That is a truth that has been repressed by our society. When the truth comes out through the age of Aquarius, that is one of those things that will come out, right? And the falsehoods, the deceptions will fall by the wayside. And that's one of those things that I do believe will be changing. But very much so, our society trains us, indoctrinates us, that it's not okay. You know, it's not okay for a female to have personal power. to stand on their own 2 feet, rooted in the physical world, and to be able to take action steps, utilizing and exercising their personal power to achieve things in their environment, right? Of course that's absurd. Of course it's absurd. It's just as absurd as it's not okay for a man to have emotions and to be connected with other people around them. That's absurd to think that I should not have an emotionally strong connection to one of my children and feel emotions and express emotions, right? To me, that is a weakness if I don't do those things. If I am so worried about my fragile ego and what the world perceives to be masculine to the point that I do not allow myself to drop my boundaries and barriers and connect with the world around me and form loving bonds and connection with others or express my emotions, that makes me a weak man. It doesn't make me a strong one, right? But we are trained and indoctrinated the exact opposite of that. I have trouble receiving. You're not alone on that, Arlena. My hand's up on that one. Got a whole head thing going on. Goodness. I hope that will subside for you, my friend. That sounds like excellent advice there, Dave. I appreciate you sharing that. Hello, Captain Jack. I'm not sure how to figure out centers and how to balance. We can talk more about that. If you guys want to do that now, we can. If you want to talk, if you want to have a live talking about nothing but that, we can do that too. But the key for me is this. In order to demystify the chakras, don't think of them as some abstract concept of, metaphysical concepts that are hard to understand, because that's the way they're usually presented. The truth is, it is a mode of expression, the way that our energy manifests into the world. In 7 primary areas, right? Not saying that's the only way it can manifest, but through 7 primary areas. Our emotions are key to understanding these things, because an emotion is energy in motion. And because everything in the world is energy, vibrating at different intensities and frequencies, thoughts are energy. Thoughts vibrate at different intensities and frequencies. As an example, a thought of joy vibrates much, much higher than a thought of depression or a thought of fear. Much lower in frequency vibration. So the emotion causes a physical reaction within our body, and we experience it as a feeling. That mechanism is there to let us know what type of thoughts we're thinking. It is there to indicate to us where our energy is going, so we can pay attention to it, right? So if you consider really carefully the ways that you express yourself, like me and Arlena were talking about a minute ago, I'm not very good at receiving. I'm absolutely terrible at it. It's one of the things I've been working on for the last 2 months now, and some of you guys have heard me talk about that. What that might look like is, let's say someone was to come on here and give me a compliment. I don't know how to receive that. It's difficult for me, and that is linked to a negative self-image, low self-esteem, and an assumption of unworthiness linked to my childhood. So if somebody was to come on here and say, hey, nice beard, I usually won't say a word about it. I'll usually act like I don't see it and keep scrolling, because I don't know how to receive that. If somebody was to send me a gift as an example and be like, "Here, you really deserve this. You're doing good in the world," that's difficult for me to accept. I feel like that I am somehow wronging that person by receiving that gift because I feel unworthy of receiving it. I am blocking myself from receiving that. How you get to a place of understanding that is carefully analyzing the way that you feel. The way that you feel in certain situations. How do you feel when somebody gives you a compliment? Does it lift you up and make you feel great and you're like, oh, thank you, fantastic, and it doesn't really cause an issue for you? Or does it make you nervous? Does it make you anxious? Does it make you feel unworthy and undeserving of receiving that compliment? That is just an example of how you can work with the energies of the chakras and kind of gauge how well your energy is expressing through those energetic centers. I'm going to try to catch up on comments real quick, guys. I'm way too far behind. Graham, there's a lot of truth in that statement. We have a lot to unlearn and relearn. Very, very true. Thank you, Judy. I appreciate that. Like-minded people, how refreshing. Thank you, Suzette. A little boy to pretend to nurture a doll and people all go crazy. Exactly, Amy. Exactly. And that is absolutely ridiculous. The truth is within ourselves. Very true, Graham. Thank you for that. We are all marked with a bigger type of government. I hope you're working on... Arlena, she says, I hope you're working on your retreat for men. I have not got much progress on that, Arlena, admittedly. I've been pulled a whole lot of different directions. Most of you guys know that right now I've been focusing a lot of my energy on getting through the readings that the perk for my subscribers right now is a life path / karmic astrology reading. And they're pretty time intensive. They take a lot of bandwidth. And so I'm having to put a lot of my energy and time into those right now. But they're long past overdue. And at the same time, I'm finally building my website I've been telling you guys about forever. And it's almost done, which is exciting. But that's part of the framework I need to have in place for something like this retreat that I've talked about. But I've definitely not given up on that. I know that is part of my calling and my purpose in this life is to help show others, primarily men, through my own life and experience that it does not make you weak one bit to connect with another human being. It does not make you weak to have feelings or to express emotion. And if you're not doing those things, that actually is creating weakness within you, because then you build up and repress your energy, and energy cannot be created or destroyed, and so it stagnates and manifests in ways that you might not want it to manifest, and then you wind up with people who are unable to control their behavior, and that creates dangerous situations in the world. And we've been seeing an awful lot of that. So it's definitely something that needs to be brought into the world right now. I just missed a whole lot of my comments, guys. Give me a moment while I try to catch up on it. Cleta says Judeo-Christianity values is a myth. They're polar opposites. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for being here. Hey, nice beard. Thank you, Alpha. I appreciate that. I'm working on that. I don't know if you guys have noticed in the last couple of months, but those of you who've been here for a while might notice that if somebody gives me a compliment, I try to acknowledge it now. It still makes me awkward, but at least I can acknowledge it now. Used to, I would just scroll by really quickly, but at least I can attempt to acknowledge it now. Angela says that's my problem too. My sister and I spoke of me not being able to receive. Aw, thank you, Anna. I should have known everyone's going to say nice beard. Thank you. Is it Arius? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but thank you, my friend. Your description of energy and emotion was so eloquent. Well, thank you, Felicia. A lot of same in here, healing with Heidi. Thank you for sharing that. You're very handsome and have a soothing voice. I hope this doesn't trigger, but... Well, thank you, my friend. I do appreciate that. Nervous. You guys are so awesome. Graham says yes, and the things of religion can be a really hard one to come out of. It can be quite damaging, primarily because the system of control utilizes fear to control and subjugate people. And fear is the mind killer. And it causes an atrophy within our consciousness. It not only does it drastically lower our frequency and vibration, but it literally has an impact on neurogenesis, on the creation of new neural pathways in our brain, and on our conscious expansion. So it can be very difficult to come out of, speaking from personal experience. But don't get me wrong, I still very strongly believe in the values and the truth that was brought to the world by Jesus, by Yeshua ben Joseph, right? I think that he spoke the truth. He showed us the way and carved a path for us to follow and tried to free us from the bonds of a religious institution. And unfortunately, his message of truth and freedom was twisted and distorted and mutilated and used to control. And a lot of terrible things have been carried out in his name in the last 2,000 years. Can we get back to enlightenment? I absolutely believe. Are you asking me, Angela, if it is possible for us? I absolutely believe it's possible for us. And I think that that's where we're headed. Thank you, Kim, for moderating for me. I didn't catch what that was, but thank you. I do appreciate that. Are you going to be okay with that, or you think it will be too peoply? I'm getting a lot better. I'm getting a whole lot better. I imagine it will probably be an awful lot like going live has been for me. Since we're on this topic, talking about energetic balance, talking about blockages in the chakras and things like that, I, for a long time, had a pretty serious block in my throat chakra because of the very example that I gave you guys. And so whenever I finally listened to the divine, to my spirit guides, and decided to begin this community and start going live, which I had to seriously work up to doing that. Once I first started doing that, I don't know if any of you guys in here remember that far back or if you were here then, but I did not go live for 2 hours then. At most, it was 15 or 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. Because what would happen was that my throat would start to close off on me because of that blockage in my throat chakra. I was forcing myself to express myself, trying to work through this blockage. So I'm forcing energy through a place that is blocked. And that can be difficult, and it can have really interesting effects sometimes. And that effect for me was my voice would start cutting out on me. I'd have to clear my throat all the time. And the longer I stayed on, the worse it got, until eventually my throat would just try to close off on me. And then I would have to say bye and close the live. And, I was working on those things, and using this example, part of working through that, and I'll actually share with you guys the one thing that was like opening that blockage and allowing the energy to flow for me. It'll be different for everybody. But the one main thing that it was for me was speaking up for myself. Whenever I felt like somebody was doing something that had a negative impact on me, in the past, I would always just grin and bear it. I would just stay quiet, and I would keep it to myself, and I would just act like it never happened. Externally. Internally, it was a completely different story. But I would just allow those things to happen. I wouldn't stand up for myself. I wouldn't say, no, hang on a minute, this isn't right. I did not set boundaries, right? I did not protect myself. I felt that I was not worthy or deserving of being stood up for, and that everybody else had more of a right to occupy space in the world than I did. So once I finally started trying to work through this energetic blockage in my throat chakra, I worked with setting boundaries an awful lot. It doesn't have to be anything serious or catastrophic, right? Little minor things like that build up to major things. A good example of that is I would always overcommit to all manner of things. I still do that, although not as bad as I once did. Let's say I was very busy and I had a full plate. If I had a weekend to get things done and my plate was already full, and somebody called me up and said, hey, I'm in the middle of moving right now and I really need some help. Is there any way you could come over and help me for a day? Even though I had already had prior obligations and there was no way I could possibly get the things done that I already needed to get done, and let's say my back was injured and my back was out, I would still do it. I wouldn't say, I would help you if I had the ability or the time, but my back is injured. And in fact, I've got more things to do this weekend than I have time to do. So unfortunately, I'm not able to help you this weekend. That's what I should have done. But instead, I said, oh, sure, absolutely, I can come help you. All the time, right? I did not stand up for myself. I didn't set boundaries and maintain those. So I began doing those things. I began speaking up. I began standing up for myself. And that's what opened up the floodgates and allowed me to clear that chakra blockage. And now I can stay on alive as long as I want to and continue talking with you beautiful people. But it was not always the case. So that's an example for any of you guys curious about what this can look like. Oh, thank you, Amy. That's very kind of you. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Brock. You guys are so awesome. I completely agree with you, Graham. I think that that is very needed in the world today. Thank you, Suzette. For those of you that are new here, by the way, we have the Soul Group live every day except for Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if you guys want to be a part of this, we're here every day but Sunday at 7 p.m. Bless you. 111 souls in the chat. Love it. I must be born again. Amy says, curious, are there activities to nurture your childhood injuries, such as what you mentioned? There absolutely are, my friend, and I would love to share those with you. Let me get caught up on my comments, but please don't let me forget what I was supposed to talk about. I can lead people away for water brains. Well, thank you, Brock. I need that reminder occasionally. Thank you for sharing the live, my friend. Beth remembers. Exactly, Graham. I'm with you 100% on that. To give up religion doesn't mean we give up the truth and the unadulterated message. For me, that's the difference between religion and spirituality. We don't need a mediator to act on our behalf between us and the divine. The divine is within us, and we can have that spiritual connection without a mediator. Kim says, oh wow, seeing it in retrospect in someone else is a trip. It is very much so. And I'm going through these things, by the way, and working my way through these things so that I can share that with the world. That is what my spirit guides have told me. Basically told me that all of the circumstances in my childhood, in my life up to this point, all of my struggles, all of my everything is been so that I can share that with the world and for other people to see, hey, if this guy can do it, anybody can do it, right? I'm still not protecting myself and need to. Overcommitted, yeah. So many of you guys are like, oh my gosh, that's freaking me. It's definitely been good for me, Shannon. Definitely been good for me. Thank you for that, Kim. I appreciate you. I say more here than in real life. Felicia said that throat thing is me. You're most welcome, Felicia. Definitely welcome. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. I was raised Catholic, and that is part of why I'm not Catholic. Joe, I've got one more ahead of you that I want to get to, but don't let me forget about telling you my story and how I got to where I'm at today, because I think that might help you. Thank you, Amy. It does take courage, but it takes courage for each and every one of us. Show mug artwork in case anyone's interested. Thank you, Brock. Thank you guys. You guys are so kind. Okay, hang on 1 second. I gotta grab them. So I've only got the two right now. But these and many more are on my website. And it will be going live soon. These are original artworks of mine printed on these beautiful little mugs here. This one is entitled Solitude, and this one is Wisdom. This one was a really, really quick drawing that I did with a piece of charcoal. I think I took 10 minutes or so, if it was even that long to do it. But those will soon be on my website. And actually, I just finally designed one I'm really excited about, with the Magi Rising logo on the mug, and it turned out absolutely beautiful. I ordered one for myself just so I can show everybody. I'm not sure exactly how long it'll be before I get it. Thank you for that. Thank you, Deborah. Okay, now I was supposed to get back to, where was it at? My memory is not fantastic. You can remind me if I haven't. Okay, Amy, are there activities to nurture your childhood injuries, such as what you mentioned? There are plenty of different methods for doing this. And you can actually search the internet and find some pretty good examples. But I can tell you from my experience what's worked good for me. Let me get back to the bottom here. The rustic element of the elephant. Thank you, Amy. Um, I've only got these two right now, but they're actually available right now if you guys don't want to wait for my website. They're available on Redbubble, and I will put a link to that in my bio. So if you just click up here on my face and then go to my bio, there's a link tree in there. It's not there yet, but I will link it hopefully tonight, if not tomorrow. I will link the Redbubble website where you guys could go and order these for yourself. And then hopefully by my birthday, I will have my website up and running. That's my goal, which is the 25th of this month. Okay, so one of the absolute best methods for healing injuries, as you say, through childhood, thank you, Deborah, that I found that has worked fantastic for me is, and actually I might have this with me. Bear with me, guys. I'm going to stand up for just 1 second. I got to find it. Wish I could remember what book I had that in. I've got too many books. I had a book that had my picture in it. I was going to show them. Well, that one will work. It's a smaller one. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you guys waiting. I can't find exactly what I was looking for, but I will use this one as an example. You guys see that? Anybody want to guess who that is? Yeah, Angela, I don't really have too many books. I was trying to be a comedian. So this is me. About the same age that troubling things started to happen in my childhood that led to a lot of the energetic blockages that manifested in my life. The reason I'm holding this up and showing you guys, and yes, he is adorable, isn't he? Is because I noticed, because of my self-esteem, because I developed this feeling that I did not deserve to occupy space in the world, that I did not deserve the good things in life. I didn't deserve all of, anything. I just felt like I was not worth any of those things. It's hard for me to have compassion with myself. I can have compassion with the best of us for anybody else in the world. I can very powerfully open up my heart and lay it all out there for just about anybody, or anything even, but myself, because of these injuries linked to my childhood, because of the childhood trauma. But what I discovered was that if I see this child, right, I don't see the man today. I see the child. Whenever somebody gives me a compliment, such as, "Hey man, nice beard," or "Oh, you're so fantastic and knowledgeable," or whatever it is, when that voice in the back of my head says, "You're an imposter. You're worthless. You don't deserve to occupy real estate in this world," whatever it is that nasty voice is saying to me in my head, I try to imagine myself saying that to this little boy right here. And I realize it's physically impossible. Could you say those things to this sweet little boy there? With all of the love and compassion and joy that this child has in his heart. Could you look at that sweet, innocent little child and say, "You don't deserve to be loved"? I couldn't. I absolutely could not. And so, a really powerful practice to help heal those injuries is try to find a picture of yourself as a child. The closest to the moment or the point to where things shifted for you, the better. And then spend a lot of time with that picture. Spend a lot of time with that inner child, with your inner self. And go there mentally to the times that these things happened. To the times where you began to feel, I'm not worthy of love. For me, it really started whenever my parents had a rough patch and my dad left. That was the very beginning of it. And the only thing I could possibly rationalize in my 4.5-year-old little mind there was that my dad left because I was not worthy of love. I did not deserve that. Not that my dad is a human being and that my mom is a human being and that they have lives and that things are not always meant to work out, that they weren't meant to be together or stay together. Maybe it was even in their best interest, in my best interest, for them to split up. Who knows, right? But to 4.5-year-old Brian here, he could not see that. All he could rationalize was that I'm not worthy of love. So I go back to that point. At the moment whenever I ran up to my dad's truck and told him I didn't want him to leave. And he left anyway. Whenever I felt so heartbroken. And then I can show up as the man that little Brian needed in that moment. And I can tell him it's okay. And that he is worthy of love. And all of the things in life. And you can expand that practice in many different ways, right? But that is very powerfully getting to know your inner child, and going back to those points in time whenever your inner child needed that, whenever it needs you the most, right? You can go back to that point and you can show up for yourself. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry if my emotions are like broadcast over to you guys right now. That is still an emotional wound for me that I'm working through, so thank you guys for sticking through that. Thank you, Beth. See what comments I missed here. Explains why I hid all of my childhood photos. Adorable. Oh, you guys are so kind. Hello, honeybee. Graham, that is a very positive and uplifting statement. Thank you so much for sharing that. Shannon says, I'm so sorry that you felt that way. I really do appreciate it. But here's the thing that I finally come to understand. I would not change it. If I had a time machine, and I knew that there would, it would be fine for me to go back and change those things, I would not. I absolutely would not. Because if I did, I would not be here today. I would not be speaking with you guys. I would not have these gifts to share with the world. I would not be able to help other people, other little inner children that were hurt or that were injured or went through terrible things, right? I wouldn't have worked through those things and learned the lessons, and I wouldn't be of any help and assistance to the world. And this is just one example of my life that I needed to go through in order to learn certain lessons, in order to do what I'm here to do. And that's part of my calling, is to help bring those things out into the world. So I appreciate your compassion, everybody, but I needed those things. I signed up for it. I firmly believe that. And it has made me the person that I am today. Oh, thank you, Naked Garden Dancer. That's very sweet. Thank you, Arlena. You guys are so awesome. Deborah says, I did an exercise and I found my inner child cowering, hiding in a corner. And she was afraid of me. Aw, thank you, Judy. I feel the same about myself. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Graham. You guys are so awesome. Dave here. I think that I've seen you say that a few times. What's the repent about? You put that energy in motion. It reached our hearts and helped us evolve. Thank you, my friend. Honeybee says, I lost my mom to cancer when I was 5. I knew about inner child wounds, and yes, it made me stronger. Thank you for sharing that, Honeybee. Thank you so much for sharing that. The 10 Commandments and sin. Okay. I'm still not sure exactly what you're saying, Dave. Are you saying I need to repent for my sins? Is that what you're telling me? Okay. I was confused. Oh, wow. 3 in your family to cancer, unfortunately. Good grief. A lot of pain in here. Oh, to talk about them. I absolutely would love to do that. And there was something else. Who was I supposed to get back to? One moment, guys. Let me clear some energy in here. I was supposed to get back to somebody talking about my experience because they came from the Catholic Church and they were feeling pulled away from religion. I don't remember exactly who that was. But my take on the 10 Commandments is that whenever it says that Jesus essentially fulfilled the law or nullified the law, I have a different understanding on that. And that I think that the message that he brought is that we are not separate. That we suffer from an illusion of separateness, believing that you are separate from me and I am separate from everything else in the world. That somehow we exist as an island in the world. And I believe that the message that Jesus brought is that we are all one. We are all part of the divine. And that if you can see the divine in everyone and everything around you, then you don't have to worry about the 10 Commandments. Because if you can understand, and truly understand and see that God is within you, and that God is within everyone, even your neighbor, even the punk teenage kid that flies by you in a vehicle and flips you off right after they cut you off on the highway. If you can see God in that person, it makes it really difficult to break any of the 10 Commandments, because would you murder God? Would you steal from God? Would you lie to God? Would you do any of those things to God? If you met an individual in the flesh, and you just knew, like you knew, that that was God in the flesh. I mean, you could bask and revel in all of the glory and magnificence that was God's energy in that person. Could you imagine bringing yourself to commit any type of sin against that person? I could not fathom that personally. And if you could see that the divinity in everyone, then it kind of nullifies the commandments. There's no need to worry about any number of commandments. If you can break that illusion of separateness and see that we are all connected, that God dwells within each and every one of us. So that's my take on the Ten Commandments. Yathor. Interesting name, my friend. I like that. Do you know any Retharian techniques? It depends on what you mean by that. I'm not familiar with that term. You might have to give me a little bit of explanation. I'm Honeybee. Okay, I'm confused on what you were saying there. Jesus said, "Don't worship me, for I am not good. Only the Father is good to worship." Yeah, but people seem to misunderstand that, didn't they? People also misunderstood what he meant whenever he said that that God is within me and I am within you, and God is within you. People took that to mean somehow that came out to be the Trinity, right? Thank you, Honeybee. I'm old school. I've done many things and I regret all that I did. So that's also for me, one of the most important and most powerful messages that that Jesus brought to the world, is the need for non-judgment. And I think that even that was grossly misunderstood. Jesus said not to judge others, right? And that part was pretty well understood, although very seldom followed, right? Especially within mainstream Christians, because they're probably among the most judgmental people on the face of the earth. But the other part of that is not to judge yourself, because we will be judged by the manner of which we judge. The level of judgment that you hold to the world and hold to yourself is the manner of which you will be judged. And I really think at the heart of that, what Jesus is saying, is that on the other side of this, whenever this vehicle is worn out and it's time to take up residence in a new vehicle, whenever this body passes away and my spirit moves on, in other words, there will be judgment, right? But I don't think what Jesus meant is that there is a bearded man sitting on a throne in the sky that is going to cast judgment upon all of creation. I think what Jesus meant was that energy of judgment, that you are judging everything around yourself by, you will judge yourself by those same critiques, those same bars that you hold the world up to whenever you cross over. You will judge the merits of your life based on that level of judgment. So it's best to just not judge, to give grace for everything around you, for all life, everyone you come across, including yourself. To understand that none of us are perfect, that we are all flawed, that we've all had a history, we've all had a background, and none of us are perfect. We're going to make mistakes. It's all part of the learning process. Nobody ever achieved anything of any real significance in the world without failing, right? That's part of the formula for success is you try something and fail, and then you learn, and then you try something again and you fail, but then you learn, and then you try something else, and you keep repeating that formula until you achieve success. But you don't sit there and you don't dwell on the failure and judge yourself for it, because that's not helpful. All that does is keeps you from success. And I think what Jesus was saying there is don't judge, because none of us are in any position to set as judge, right? We're just not. Love God and neighbor as yourself because they are you. Absolutely, honeybee. Absolutely. You absolutely are, Judy. Absolutely. Jesus said, I didn't come to change the law. I came to fulfill the law. 100%. And I just got truth bumps on reading that one. Thank you, Mom. I appreciate that. Jesus Christ is not his name, it's Yeshua. Very true, my friend. Very true. I use both interchangeably in here. You guys will hear me use both because not everyone knows who I'm talking about whenever I say Yeshua ben Joseph. So I also say Jesus, but it's actually not correct. What if we only get just that one chance? I don't think that we only ever get just that one chance. I really don't. That's my own personal understanding, my personal experience. I have past life memories. I've experienced too many things in my life that tells me there is life after death, if you want to consider death, and that reincarnation is a reality. And so I don't believe that we only ever have one chance. We have a whole lot to learn, and that would be a pretty tall order for us all to learn everything that we have to learn to perfect ourselves and master all of those lessons in a single lifetime, right? There would not be too many people on the other side of that finish line. What if there was that one chance that we cross the boundary that we're not allowed to? People say, what did God create us in the world from? The truth is he made us from a part of himself. When you learned about Enoch, I love that. I judge myself more than I judge other people. That is a really common thing, more common than what a lot of people would assume. But I think that it is just as detrimental to be judgmental of ourselves as it is to judge other people. I think it is a good idea to give ourselves a measure of grace and understanding and compassion. Excellent advice, Graham. I like that. Good evening, Bunny. Joshua. Jesus Christ is a Roman cult religion. Have you ever been in here, and heard me talk about these things? That's why I was chuckling and laughing, not at what you said at all. It's really interesting to me. How to not reincarnate. I've seen some talk on the internet of people saying that basically all you have to do is not walk towards the light and that you don't incarnate. or that there is some little formula that you can do and not incarnate. And I personally don't know about all that. I can tell you what I feel is that we are bound to the wheel of karma and the cycle of life, death, and rebirth until we learn the lessons that we need to learn and can free ourselves from the connection of karma. Once we can untie those bindings, karma is that which binds us to the wheel, to this cycle of life, death, and rebirth. And I think it is possible to break that binding with karma. But I think that we're also here to learn certain lessons, to grow. I believe that Earth is a school, and that we're here to be educated, to learn certain spiritual lessons, to grow spiritually. And until we do those things, there's not much point in freeing ourselves from that cycle, because that's why we're here. Yeah, Tor, I normally would absolutely love to bring you up, but I'm nearing the end of this live, and I do need to get off of here on time tonight. So, cannot wait until maybe the next Soul Group meeting. That would be on Monday night at 7 p.m. I would absolutely love to bring you up and have a conversation with you. We're all different facets and aspects of the same divine life experiencing itself. I'm running into the light as fast as possible. Yeah, same here. Same. So before I end this completely for tonight, I want to briefly, for anybody that is new here, I don't know if the one that asked me is still here or not, but I know that we have some new people that might not have heard this story before. So just to give an idea of who I am and what has led me to this place, I want to very briefly share my story of what led me here as we close out the live. Thank you for that understanding, my friend. Please remind me on Monday, and I would love to bring you up. I need to be off of here on time tonight, and I definitely don't want to rush something like that. I believe that I chose to come back, and I don't think that I had to. That certainly does happen, Deborah. I think that definitely happens. It's usually that's usually when someone has learned their lessons and they have broken free from that cycle, but they choose to reincarnate to help their brothers and sisters to learn the lessons and to evolve so that they can escape this cycle as well. Metatron's Cube, good eye, my friend. I'm surprised you could even see it with it all the way down there. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. E8 Theory TED Talk. Thank you for sharing that. I will check that out. Okay, so how I got to where I'm at is about 20 years ago, I had a spiritual awakening experience that was very powerful. And for sake of time, I'm not going to go into too much detail on what all that entailed. But just know, prior to this, I was raised in mainstream Christian households. Primarily conservative Southern Baptist Christian households. But I also spent a lot of my childhood in and out of different foster homes. We wound up moving around a lot. Each home we went into, we were exposed to a completely different religious system. Most of them were some form of Protestant Christianity. But that was my background and my understanding up to that point. And I always very strongly connected with the values and the teachings of Yeshua, of Jesus, right? I believed them very strongly to be the truth. But there were certain parts of it that never really set right with me, such as the concept of original sin, that we're born into sin. As an innocent child that has never done any wrong, you are a sinner and are essentially doomed to burn in an eternal lake of fire unless the church basically intervenes on your behalf. There were things like that that I never set well with me. But then about 20 years ago, I had a really powerful spiritual awakening experience where I had past life memories. And I was shown a vision of future events. And I was charged with my calling by Spirit. And there was a lot that went along with this. And again, I don't have time to go into it tonight. But this shook my belief system to the ground. The very foundations of my belief crumbled. Because how do you reconcile having past life memories within a Christian framework, right? Because Christianity says it is given to us to live but one life, and then afterwards face eternal judgment based on the merits or deeds of that one finite lifetime, right? And there is a lot of other things that went along with this that caused me to question every single bit of that. I can't wait to get to that. Thank you for your comment, my friend. So this led me on a journey, a search for truth that has been ongoing for the last 20 years, still ongoing, and probably will never end. But what I've come to learn and understand is that concepts such as reincarnation and karma and the law of one and our ability to manifest things into our existence using our mind, all of those things were not foreign to Christianity, but were in fact a part of the original teachings, the undoctored teachings of Yeshua ben Joseph. The first Christians, before Christianity was a thing, believed in those things. And I found a lot of evidence to support this, and I talk an awful lot about it. And we can talk more about that if any of you guys are interested later. But there was a major change that happened early on. After the crucifixion, there was a split with the early followers of Christ, where it was primarily James the Just who headed up the church, the followers at that time, the original followers of Jesus, those that actually walked with him and learned with him. And then there was Paul, who was one of the biggest opponents of Christianity, who basically it was his job to hunt down and crucify Christians, to execute them, and he did so. He had quite a reputation for being the best in the business. And then he reportedly had a spiritual experience and a come to Jesus meeting, literally. And then he became the biggest proponent of Christianity, spreading his message all throughout the Roman Empire, all around the Mediterranean, proselytizing, amassing a massive following. But the thing is, he never met Jesus. He never walked with him. He never learned from him. And so his version of the teachings was vastly different from that of the original followers. And things kind of coalesced at the point after Paul had circled the Mediterranean, the entire Roman Empire, and gathered this massive following behind him. He confronted James, the brother of Jesus, and the original followers in Jerusalem. They hashed out their differences, if you want to call it that, and the original followers were chased out of Jerusalem all of the way down into Africa. And then the church became Paul and his followers, not the original teachings. And then things evolved much more drastically after that, with the Roman Emperor Constantine. As the Roman Empire was collapsing, Constantine seen the power of Christianity to bind people together and thought that he could use it as a glue to fix his crumbling empire, but knew, as vast as the Roman Empire was, with their wildly varying beliefs, to get them all to believe and follow one religion like that would be a really tall order. So what he decided to do was alter some of the teachings, alter some of the scripture, and bring in a whole lot of pagan ideas and beliefs. And that was part of the Romanization of Christianity. Even the Sabbath was done away with in Christianity. And once it was declared the official state religion of Rome, the holy day became Sunday, an observation of worship for Apollo, the sun god. Sunday. That's why it moved from Saturday, which was actually the Sabbath. And that's the root of pretty much every one of the major Christian holidays, was part of these pagan rituals and beliefs that were part of the Roman Empire. And it was part of that change and that Romanization where things like the Trinity came to be hashed out, where reincarnation was completely eradicated. What little bit was left with some of the followers. There was a man named Arius who had a following within early Christianity. He still believed in those teachings. They were chased out and eradicated. Their beliefs were wiped off the face of the earth, basically. But things changed drastically during that period of time. And so that is basically my background. That's where, that's who you guys are dealing with, for anybody who doesn't know. Let me see what I missed in there. Spiritual technologies. Along those lines, my friend, I think that you're absolutely correct. I like the term Jedi there. I think that Jesus, Yeshua, is the master, the ultimate master. And the term I was actually given by Spirit was Magi, not Jedi, but essentially meaning the same thing, and hence the name Magi Rising. But I do completely agree with you on the conclusion. St. Peter 3 times denies, and Mary Magdalene was his chosen, his divine feminine counterpart. And by the way, not only do I think Jesus believed in reincarnation, I think he reincarnated numerous times throughout the Bible, beginning with Adam, the firstborn over all of creation. That's actually in the biblical scripture, by the way. It's mentioned numerous times. Fact, Jesus taught his disciples the mysteries, will mainstream that taught differently. Very much so. Very much so. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Mary Magdalene and the Knights have, waiting for centuries, they have the Ark. Yes, Jerome, I was talking about Jesus. Sorry you just now got in here, Aaron, but I'm glad you're here. I was actually just wrapping up the live. I hate it when that happens. Misogynistic, very much so. That was one of the biggest qualms that Jesus had, by the way, with the Sanhedrin, with the ruling elite class within Judaism, was the misogyny, the sexism. Women were relegated to a third-class citizen. They weren't even allowed into the inner portions of the temple much less considered to be equal to men. They weren't allowed to have any positions or power. They definitely were not allowed to teach. And Jesus was like, yeah, okay, that's dumb. That's half the equation. They're actually more connected to spirit than you are. So, yeah, that doesn't make sense. And of course, that did not go over very well. Would definitely make sense on a lunar calendar. Exactly. The same spirit science as the Hindus, Jesus in Tibet, and Egypt in 20 years. I do firmly believe that Jesus was trained in the mystery religion of ancient Egypt, that he was initiated into the mysteries in the Temple of Initiation, the Great Pyramid, that he traveled into India and studied from the masters, as well as Persia and other places as well. And there is evidence of that, by the way. And the pole when he was crucified almost changed to a cross. Exactly. Yeah, George Lucas was no dummy. He put a whole lot of truth into those movies, into the Star Wars movies. And that happens an awful lot, by the way. It's not just Star Wars. One of my favorite movies to talk about philosophy and metaphysics and all of these things with is the movie The Matrix, which, by the way, is the same concept. Neo was actually fashioned after Jesus, the Messiah. That's the entire concept behind that character of Neo. Thank you, Suzette, Thoth, and Hermes. I personally believe so. I know that Edgar Casey talked about that. I believe they were magi, to answer your question. Not necessarily the same incarnation or the same entity as Yeshua, as Jesus. But the concept is that there was seven souls, basically, that were part of, trying to figure out how to word this where it makes sense. Basically, seven souls that were tasked with a specific calling to incarnate during pivotal moments of major changes, shifts, primarily between ages and major cycles like we are right now as we're shifting into the age of Aquarius. And that's when these figures incarnate and when they show up. Just like with the last time with Jesus, with Yeshua. That was at the beginning of the Piscean Age. And it has changed the world very profoundly with just that one incarnation. The same thing with Hermes. Way behind on my comments. I'm glad that you caught us too, Aaron. I missed your first comment on the Sabbath. Oh, yeah, with the lunar calendar. Yeah, that does make more sense now. This week was bananas. Stargate is the Large Hadron Collider. I had not heard that before, but that is really interesting. Thank you for being here, Graham. Apocalypto Passion. Common theme. Blood sacrifice. Yeah, I could definitely see that. E4 are the first on the docket too tomorrow, starting at 4:44. Thank you, Greg. My trip was well. It was fruitful. It was a lot of work, but I got my mom's door fixed. You're very welcome, Graham. Thank you for being here. So on that note, guys, it is that time that I need to wrap up this live for tonight. For anybody who does not know, we do this every day except for Sunday. Same time, same place, same channel right here at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time every day except for Sunday. So I hope to see you guys again soon. I would love to continue this conversation. It will be Monday at 7 p.m. for the next go around. I'm glad that you were here either way, Greg. I will be downloading this and uploading it to the YouTube channel for anybody who might have missed some of it, or if you want to watch a replay or anything like that. Oh, thank you, Aaron. I appreciate that. No, Lisa, Mom, Deborah. Arius, what is your spiritual name or original name? Ecriel. I don't think I've ever said that on here. And Jesus died to end their carnage. Thank you, Honeybee. I'm glad somebody mentioned that, Brian. I was really resisting the urge the whole time to say that. Same bat channel, same bat time. Yes. I knew it was going to come out somewhere. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you. Okay, so thank you all for being here and for lending your time and energy and attention to this beautiful community. Thank you for helping this community to grow. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys. I would not be here if it was not for you. So thank you for giving me the ability to share my knowledge and experience that I've gained in this life. And to have, thank you, Deborah, and for giving me a venue to be able to work towards my calling in this life. You guys make that possible. So thank you so much for that. I love each and every one of you guys, and I hope to see you guys again on Monday. Until then, take care of yourself. I can't wait to see you guys soon. You're welcome, Aaron. And for anybody who's not heard the announcement, Aaron, Soulshine here, is hosting her own live. What is it? Soul Sunday, Soulshine Sunday. Is that how it goes? Sorry, Aaron, I'm butchering it. I can't remember. But anyway, she's hosting. It is Soulshine Sundays. Okay. On Sundays, I guess it's going to be at 4:44 is when she's going to start tomorrow. We would love to see you guys all there for anybody who wants to participate in that. I know that Aaron would really like to see you guys there. So take care of yourselves, and I will see you all soon. Have a good night.